Now, next week, the Church of England General Synod will be presented with a report on how the Church can begin to build trust. And many newspaper headlines this week have been focusing on the report's message around social media and online activity. And it says the people are insufficiently rigorous in checking the information they share is accurate or reliable. So in a time of growing concerns over the spread of misinformation online, there is a warning that through our indiscriminate use of social media, we are in danger of becoming stupid in our judgment of where to place our trust. So, is overuse of social media making us stupid? Well, to discuss this and help us unpick fake news online, I'm joined by Mariana Spring, the BBC disinformation and social media expert, and Mark Burrows, a writer and comic who formerly worked for Twitter, or X as it is now, debunking misinformation on the platform. Good morning to both of you. It's a huge issue, let's be honest. I mean, we hardly have time to get into the bones of it. But Mariana, it's this idea of social media and misinformation in particular making us stupid. How do you feel about that wording?
I think it's an interesting choice of words, and I think there are a few things that's important to unpick first. I think that it's true that social media, and I know this from investigating it firsthand, is a very complicated place right now, not least because we've got a general election campaign unfolding. That means that it can be really difficult to figure out what to trust. There's misinformation, misleading posts, there's doctored videos and clips, perhaps not as many as we expected, deepfakes we often call them, but there's still a real proliferation of content where it's really hard to know where it's come from and what it's telling you. And so I think that perhaps explains why we all feel a bit, certainly lots of people I've been chatting to this election say to me, I just can't really figure out who I should be trusting and why. But I also think that actually, and I've found this during this election campaign, a lot of people have got in touch because they're spotting stuff on their feeds, because they're saying, hang on, there's something not quite right about this. And I think our general awareness of this issue is quite good. We actually think, hang on, oh, there's something a bit fishy about this post, and I'm going to look into it more. And that is the one thing I think everybody should be doing, particularly at the moment as polling day approaches.
That is slightly reassuring that people are actually starting to realise and to twig on that there is so much misinformation out there, Mark. And I'm sure you've seen this change and develop over the years, even since your time at Twitter. And, you know, this isn't a kind of an age issue here. There aren't, you know, specifically young people that are having issues with this or old people. It's kind of affecting everybody. In fact, over 65 seems to be a huge problem with it. Why do people let themselves believe what they see online? And is that part of the problem, that they kind of want to believe it?
That's exactly the problem. I think we instinctively believe the things that chime with us, that we feel are true. That's the problem. So you see something and you go, oh, that is what I think. Oh, I do believe that immigrants caused that. Oh, I do believe that, oh, no, that vaccine has had problems. The government is out to get me. All those things kind of play into this. You're starting to feel that this is true. And then you go, oh, well, that seems right. Click. And you don't check, which is the important thing. No one checks because it chimes. There's an old saying that the truth, a lie will go around the world before the truth has got his boots on, which is definitely true. And we're seeing it more and more with social media, where it's so easy to share something. And I think people don't get into the habit of checking these things.
I think, and you've seen that in so much of what you've been looking into in your investigations, Mariana. And, you know, you talk about sharing things willingly or unwittingly, and that's part of the problem here, because you do have two types. You've got people who are doing this on purpose to share misinformation, and people who don't even realise that they've fallen into this trap.
Yeah, and I think it can be quite helpful to actually kind of separate those two groups of people, because you have got people who are able to build a huge following online. They often are able to profit in some way. Maybe they have a bit more influence than they expected. Maybe they're able to make money. And those people can cynically share stuff that they know will get traction, they know will get likes and views, even if they don't necessarily believe it to be true. But then there are lots of people who will genuinely believe something because, like Mark says, it plays into your existing biases. It's something that you want to think is true, or perhaps you're worried about it, you're feeling scared, and so you reshare it on, often because you're kind of trying to help. And I find that a lot as well. You know, I spend a fair bit of my time investigating the public social media platforms, and I have been doing that this election. But there's also group chats, there's closed spaces where people will share stuff, often with their friends and family, because we trust our friends and family or people we know. we perhaps are a bit more inclined to say, oh, maybe there's something to this. And something I've really noticed this election is when we're thinking about the kinds of political content that people are seeing, what I've found, and I've been running these undercover voters, which are like these fictional characters. They're private with no friends. They have social media profiles across all the main sites, and they let you see what different people are being pushed and targeted with. And what I've found is a lot of the content isn't necessarily from official sources. It's not necessarily even paid for political ads. It's just from the average person who shared something and it's gone really viral. And sometimes it's just an opinion. It's a totally valid point they're making. But at other times it's something that's a bit misleading or false. And they sometimes regret posting it. Other times they're quite happy they've got a lot of likes. And this tells us about the way that algorithms, the computer-generated systems on these sites, can really shape how we're interpreting what's unfolding, particularly around an election.
We do end up, and we hear this term all the time, but echo chambers. We end up in this echo chamber, hearing our own views coming back to us, reinforcing the views that perhaps that we already had. But people, like you say, it can just feel like an opinion. We're all entitled to our opinions. But this can, Mark, be dangerous at times. I think there was a Ukrainian social media specialist who said it's like a fire hose of misinformation coming out about the war there in particular. So it can be extremely dangerous when we're talking about specifically fake news.
Oh, yeah. I mean, fake news is the World Economic Forum said it's one of the great evils of our time. One of the biggest risks to global security is false information and how easy it is to spread, particularly with the rise of deepfakes, as Marianne was saying, how easy it is to manipulate video, and there's stuff coming out all the time that's making that more and more easy for anyone to do, not just experts, not just people who know how to manipulate video and can have those skills. Soon you're going to be able to just punch it into a ChatGPT program and get false video. And video is one of the most compelling ways of convincing people. People see things with their own eyes, thus it must be true. So this is incredibly dangerous, and in like tiny ways and in massive ways.
And did you say when people see things with their own eyes, or what they think they see with their own eyes, that's part of the problem? And then on the reverse of that, when people are being suspicious, they can see facts and proper news sources and believe that that is then fake news because they become suspicious of everything. So then how can people protect themselves? How are people watching this supposed to know what's fake and what's real anymore?
That is a very good question that keeps me in a job most of the time. And I think that there are a few things that people can do, I think particularly in the coming days as we're approaching polling day as well here in the UK, to make sure that they are being really aware of what's on their feeds and not being fooled by stuff. So my number one top tip is kind of what we've been talking about echo chambers and algorithms. Think about what is being recommended to you and actually take a moment to say, oh, right, I might have just seen a video of, I don't know, the Euros and the football or something else I'm interested in. Now I'm seeing a political video. Let me just take a moment to kind of think, right, why have I been pushed that? Why have I been recommended it? Where has it come from? And so on. Second thing is looking out for clues that something has been doctored or faked in some way. And sometimes you'll get that feeling, you'll think, oh, there's something a bit off here. Maybe a picture's got an extra finger. Maybe the audio doesn't sound quite right. And we haven't seen a tsunami of deepfakes, perhaps in the way that some people thought we might. Instead, we see a lot of the traditional tactics, like just memes, false posts, video that's quite straightforward. But we have seen some stuff that's deepfaked and doctored too. So just being really aware of stuff that plays into your own biases and that might be faked. And then my third final tip would just be to interrogate the source. Like, who is this person? Are they reliable? Have they shared stuff that's true before? Do you even know who they are? That's quite important.
Just be alert. It's a minefield out there. Marianne Spring, Mark Burrows, thank you so much. I hope that was really helpful to people at home.